Thank you so much, viewers and listeners. Welcome back to this same platform again. This is Single Spine, The Issues. And we are live on GTV and all our regional networks across the country. This is Single Spine, The Issues. And the topic for discussion today is going to be the overview of the single spine pay policy from the perspective of organized labor. Single spine pay policy in recent times has been wrongly fingered to be the cause of labor agitations, and you would agree with me that we have had several of them recently in the country. And in his recent May Day address to public sector workers, or for that matter to workers across the country, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama tasked the Ministry Employment and Labor Relations to organize a forum to identify the defects within the pay policy, and so that's the reason why we are here today. Organized labor is fully represented here, and I'm grateful to have with me Dr. Boy Kikimoto. He is the chairman and leader in charge salary negotiations, Ghana Veterinary Medical Association, and our own Mr. Richard Ampabin, who is the General Secretary, PSW. They are here with me in the studio. Indeed, we'll be finding out whether really there are defects with the single spine pay policy and what the Fairwages and Salaries Commission should do to ensure the principles governing the new pay policy. And since Fairwages and Salaries Commission has been working hand in hand with the entirety of organized labor throughout the implementation of this policy, our program today will look at the single spine pay policy with perspective exactly from organized labor. I know for a fact that organized labor groups, including Ghana Trades Union and its affiliates unions across the country, talk about Health Workers Union, the General Agric Workers Union, Construction and Building Materials Workers Union, Public Utility Workers Union, TEWU, PSWU, Local Government Workers Union, NAT, NAGRAT, POTAG, FUSAG, GMA, JUSAG, and all of them endorsed right from the beginning the implementation of the single spine pay policy. But why is everybody pointing fingers at the Fairwages and Salaries Commission? I will go for a quick vox pop from Louisa. Louisa was in town to find out a few details from the public. We will get back, and then I will again introduce my guests, and then we will roll out to the program. Louisa, let's hear you.
Thank you, Cecil. The single spine pay policy has in recent times been wrongly fingered to be the cause of labor agitations in the country at present. In his recent May Day speech, President Mahama directed the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations to organize a public forum to review the implementations of the single spine salary structure and remedy the effects with the pay policy by the end of June 2013. Our program today looks at the single spine pay policy from the perspective of organized labor. So what is your perspective about the single spine pay policy so far?
Yeah, so far so good. I think it's a good policy. Fairwages is doing it best, but we cannot say that there are no problems. There are a lot of problems, but I believe that since this is a new policy, new idea, anything that you want to start afresh or you want to deviate from the old system might have its own problems. So yes, there are problems, but I think there could be a way forward.
What are your perceptions about the single spine pay policy so far, sir?
The government's single spine pay policy is one of the best things to have happened to labor for a very long time. After the agitation of the colonial days, the suffering of the railway workers and other mine workers, this is the best thing that has happened to organized labor. In salary administration, right down from the Isifo Ali's time, you realize that there had been a lot of distortions, groups competing with one another to gain superiority in salary placement to prove to management that they are better placed workers than another section of workers. But with the introduction of those single spine policy, it had tried to rationalize qualifications vis-a-vis grades and number of years service. And I think it is very good.
Hello, sir. What do you think about the single spine pay policy so far?
Okay, well, I think it's a good initiative by government to motivate employees to achieve higher productivities. I think it's quite good. Yeah.
Well, then I think the policy is fine and it's raising the workers' income and their salaries to a higher level compared to the former pay or compared to the former salary they were taking.
So how can organized labor collaborate with Fairwages and Salaries Commission?
I think organized labor is open. I mean, our hands are open. We'll collaborate fully. But the key issue here is that many a time there had been this issue of transparency. You see, you negotiate with one group and it looks as if the Fairwages is holding something to its chest. So it's like, I'm doing this for you, don't tell your brother I'm doing this for this group. But at the end of the day, it comes out that they're doing the same thing for people. So to me, we should abide by one of the policies in negotiations that, show all your cards. Let all be fair with each other. Let's show ultimate faith. And then from there, I think we can move on. And so one, I would say there should be transparency, and then the number of times we meet, it should be so frequent. And then when we meet, we should be, seen to be, putting in more work. Action is the key here. But many a time we meet and talk, and then the period we implement, policies delay so much that it also kind of agitate, there's industrial action. So the key here is how well and how fast we implement policies and decisions.
How do you think organized labor can collaborate with Fairwages and Salaries Commission?
Well, I think there should be more transparency, and then also the public sector or the workers should be allowed to speak out their feelings on where they think has fall short on the commission or on the salary policy.
Government should sit down with organized labor especially when there are issues. Maybe an example could be the doctors strike or something. You need to sit down with organized labor and trash out basic issues. And I think organized labor can be motivated to give out their best when they realize the government is maybe prepared to sit down with them when the need arises. So I think there should be effective collaboration between government and organized labor and vice versa too. I think there should be a strong collaboration. System should be in place so that when there are issues and red flags, I think these issues could be addressed. I think there's the need for a strong collaboration.
The doctors want to distort the single spine pay policy. They want to go back on those days that labor groups agitated for special remunerations and the rest. In those days, you could have nurses, different group categories of nurses going on strike to champion their call for more salary. Pharmacists will go, doctors will go. Excuse me to say, scavengers. By then we have a grade called scavengers. They also go on strike. And so there were a lot of strikes in relation to salaries. But with the single spine pay policy as it is, we are supposed to operate it and then make adjustments as proceed along. But it appears the doctors, particularly, want to take their sensitive position to hold this country to a ransom. And this is what other members of organized labor must avert. They must work in harmony to stop it, to block it. Because if we don't take care, the message that the meat has gotten to the bone will affect our single spine policy. If we don't take care, the salaries will be slashed. And organized labor will be worse off. So it is for organized labor to advise the doctors to desist from what they are doing. They should allow us to operate the single spine pay policy over a period of 16, 20 years. And let us make the right adjustment, and we will be in heaven.
Thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Cecil.
Okay. Thank you very much, Louisa. We are back from town with Louisa. She went out to sample the views of some members of the public to find out from them their position as far as single spine pay policy is concerned. I mentioned earlier on that organized labor groups endorsed the position that all public service organizations listed under Article 190 of the 1992 Constitution be covered by the single spine pay policy. But they were quick enough to give their full support to the implementation of the policy, provided the pay structure is going to ensure transparency, fairness, consistency, and some form of logic in the administration of the public service pay. And you can clearly tell from the vox pop that we played that issues of transparency came up boldly. And so I will get back to you on this issue. My guest once again in the studio, Mr. Richard Ampabing, is the General Secretary, PSWU, and Dr. Boy Kikimoto is the Chairman and Leader, Salary and Negotiations of the Ghana Veterinary Medical Association. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you on this platform. So let me throw this back to you. The fact that organized labor endorsed this full support towards the implementation of the single spine pay salary structure without missing words, they are giving their full support to this, provided issues of transparency, consistency, fairness will be agreed upon. And then you look at the labor agitations, you begin to ask yourself, does it mean along the line during the implementation some of these things were not taken into consideration? Let me throw this one to you, Mr. Richard Ampabing.
Thank you, Cecil. Yeah, I listened to Louisa when she went to town. And let me indicate that from the perspective of Public Service Workers Union, we are still committed to single spine pay policy. Now, if you listen to all the contributors, you did not find that anybody was attacking the structure per se. And somebody, I think, Do Yao, talk about the doctors' agitation and try to link it to single spine salary structure. I'm sorry, that is not the case. That is a problem with us sometimes. You see, you need to get the issues right and put it in its right perspective.
So who is not getting the issues right?
I think we, even those of us in leadership, are even not getting the issues right. Because I expect that if somebody is going to comment on the doctor's agitation, it's far away from the salary structure. What they are talking about is the application of the tools, which is different from their accepting the salary structure of single spine. They've accepted it. No question about it. What they are questioning is, one, their pension, which has reduced as a result of migrating them onto from the health services structure, which was also a consolidated salary structure. So moving them onto the single span structure, they lost out in terms of basic pay. And then they are talking about convention difference. So we don't have to lump it onto the main structure of the single spine. If you take UTAG, their agitation, also, they never said that single spine was bad. What they said was that, yes, you gave us interim market premium. And unfortunately, again, misapplication of tools. It was annexed to their basic salary in percentage terms. And it was based on 2011. They said, no, once it is annexed to my salary, in 2012 my salary has eased up, then that's me there. These are the issues. And we must not confuse these issues with the main structure, which, by the perspective of PSWU, have been successfully implemented. And nobody.
Yes, the point is that this is the position of PSWU.
Okay.
But amongst the general public, the message that has gone to them persistently or consistently from some organized labor is got to do with the fact that the institution that has been mandated to implement the single spine pay policy is not doing its work well.
So that is why I have thrown light on these two key issues that have arisen. I know these two issues, but doctors are not saying that get us out of single spine. UTAG is not saying get us out of single spine. They are saying that the tools of application, you didn't use it well. So it is for us to sit down and we all go by the tools. I mean, we all went to school. We know algebra. If I choose by quadratic wrongly, I'll get a wrong answer. But the right application is there. So let us sit down, devoid of passion, and go through the applications, and we'll see what the truth is.
But that also going to, as it were, endorse their fears right from the beginning of the implementation of the spine, the fact that Accountant General, Fairwages and Salaries Commission, Labour Commission, for me challenging the weaknesses within these institutions, does that go, as it were, to endorse their fears? That these weaknesses...
So I'll go with you. You see, this is a developing country. And as such, all our institutions, we have systemic challenges. So I don't run away from these things. The fact that somebody has gotten it wrong doesn't mean the thing is bad. So let's go back to the whole thing, ratify by manually, and move on. Why do we fear to state that this one, no, I got it wrong? Somebody has come with a superior version. Let's go by the superior version. I think this is what we are missing.
Okay. So the point again is that when two elephants fight, it is the ground that suffers. And so the general public, the clients, those who benefit from the services of these groups are those who are complaining. And more often than not, they push blame to government. They push blame to institutions that have been mandated to do this. How do we get over this once and for all?
No, it's good we are coming this way. And it's good with time. The dust is settling. Now, let us identify the problem.
Okay.
And when the problem is identified, let us all resolve it. I mean, we are not dealing with a group which, excuse my word, cannot decipher baggage from the good. They are enlightened. If it is about application, which is scientific, who is more scientific than a doctor? So let us get down, sit down, and talk. You see, this issue to me has moved away even from labor issue now. It has moved away from economics. We are now into what I would term societal issue.
Okay.
It's morality we are talking about here. And you don't, you see, it's interesting. I concede, you cannot use morality to solve a technical problem. So let us get the technical we do with the truth? Do we throw away the truth and go with falsity because it will solve problems? That one, and we leave it to people's conscience. So to me, what we need to do now is to identify the problem.
Okay.
And which is the problem? Exactly.
Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations to work with all other stakeholders.
And the good of it, so the good of it is that the Minister of Employment and Labor Relations has a very cool head.
Yeah.
He's someone who is prepared. He talks very little,
Yeah.
and that's much.
Yeah.
That is the little I have seen about the man.
Yeah.
So if you are dealing with such a person, and you go with issues, and you are able to unravel whatever the challenges,
Yeah.
be prepared to move with him. And he should be the person to link up with government. I think on one of your radio stations you made, I stated, I'm not comfortable when government members, from geology to archaeology, everybody will want to wade into the issue.
Yeah.
It creates problems for everybody. Let us zero in, narrow it. Perhaps the most divergent place it will go is not the Minister of Information, because it is his duty to carry out government decisions. Then doctors will also know we are dealing with this channel, but not when anybody at all can wake up, talk about these issues when we don't even have the facts on the ground. It distorts also government way of resolving the problem.
Yeah.
So I think now both sides, the good of it, are prepared to talk. The only difficulty I'm having is that whilst negotiations are still ongoing, then my little labor nearly tells me that the strike must be called off.
Yeah.
Because you don't, even you can't wear red band and negotiate.
And negotiate.
How would you be on strike and negotiate? But this is also another subject matter.
Yeah.
I don't fault anybody. I think that one is also another systemic failure. Who is educating who? Today, the biggest problem we are having, labor is so cheap. Everybody all of a sudden is a labor consultant. Everybody is a labor expert. Labor to me is like you are playing. When black stars are playing, all of us are coaches. That is what we are all suffering now. And they throw in jargons, they throw in solutions which are not practicable. You know, everything is feeding into the matter.
All right. Let me turn attention to Dr. Boy Kikimoto. He speaks for Ghana Veterinary Medical Association, and he's the chairman and leader salaries negotiations of the Veterinary Medical Association. I'd like to understand from your position that you are cool with, your migration onto the single spine, because your colleagues, the medical doctors, have always been heard making so much noise.
Yeah, I think I would like to start the thing from another angle.
Okay.
I think my senior colleague has gone into some areas I would like to go. Our coming here is not to talk about doctors or anybody.
Yeah.
It's about the labor front. In the labor front, he knows that we are members of the Public Services Joint Standing Negotiation Committee.
Yeah.
That negotiates salaries for all workers in the country.
and they're not supposed to embark on, some of these
This is why
strikes we're talking about.
that's what I'm telling you. Do you know that, sorry to use this word, don't get offended.
Yeah.
You and me, do you know we are potential animals? If the police should go on strike for one day, who will leave the country? You know what it?
Yeah.
So, you see, we need coolness, circumspection, and understanding patriotism and sacrifice for the country to move forward. I would like to tell you something. You see, we are the Public Services Joint Standing Negotiation Committee that negotiate for salaries for our members. It's not everything that has gone on in the single span which is rosy.
Yeah.
But see, you can also bear with me, Cecil, that implementing such a huge salary structure, things will not be rosy. And I will tell you, if my senior colleague can bear with me, one of the meetings, we told the Fairwages and Salaries Commission, and I would like you to understand something, the Fairwages and Salaries Commission was established under an Act, 737, that is given the mandate to advise, to develop and advise government on salaries, wages, grading, and all those kind of things. You see what I'm saying? But they have one thing that I like, with the values that they have to portray to the, to the government and to workers, that they have to be fair, they have to be transparent, they have to be
Consistent.
they have to be consistent,
There's
they will not be
variety
teamwork,
in that, yes.
they will not be dialogue,
Yeah.
and they will not be professionalism.
Yeah.
But so far, I'm not seeing anything bad in that. If I say that, don't forget in the various science structure that I mentioned to you, it was headed by the Office of the Head of Civil Service,
Yeah.
controlled by PRB,
Yeah.
if you remember, Price and Income Board.
Yeah.
So that time, nobody will come and sit down with you like me
And negotiate.
and negotiate. The Fairwages and Salaries
It's
Commission,
an independent body set up by Wallace, given the mandate and legal powers.
that is it. So you can come and sit down with me now and sit down and talk on behalf of my colleague doctors.
But then the point is that these same labor unions have problems with Fairwages and Salaries Commission. Every now and then, they're pointing fingers
So people
at
are
Fairwages and Salaries Commission.
You see, we have one problem. You know, it's like Pavlov's reflex action. You know, you want to give a dog meat. You hit the bell, 9 o'clock. You know, the 9 o'clock, I not celebrate to eat meat. It's used to that. So changing the time to 10 o'clock, no, I'm not even doesn't listen to you again. So people are used to twisting us, achieving what they want to achieve. But I will tell you something, the single span is going up to level 25.
Yeah.
If distortions are made, somebody will get up to level 38, which doesn't exist. So because of that, government is very cautious to control issues based on sacrifice and understanding. Let me tell you, negotiation is not like the time you say, hey, we vote action. Then you say action. You say, no. It is something you analyze. Somebody tells you something, you absorb it, you digest it, you assimilate it, and draw sensible conclusions and see the way forward. So what I am here to talk about is generally on the joint standing negotiation team. I don't have to mention names. We are all suffering. But you know, the mere fact that we are suffering doesn't mean that the country must come to a halt. That's not going to move forward. What about to do abroad? I didn't say. And we all know the way the Europeans developed their country. Do you want to come down here and supposing and you don't have money, what's the essence of you getting so much money, going to buy a Land Cruiser, and the road that you are going to drive on is not repaired? The land that you are going to get, that the president wants to do, to add another good amount of cover for that to get light, is that what it is? So if we try, and we get everything, and then you go sleep in darkness, you cannot, even if you go to, get for example, my work in particular, I go to my clinic, there's no light. Can I operate?
No.
I cannot. There's no water. Can I disinfect myself? I cannot. So everything depends on coolness, understanding, sacrifice, and patriotism.
Okay.
That's the only way we can do this country.
Now, let me find out from you two gentlemen. Have we gotten to a point where the single spine pay policy, should be reviewed or should be revised? Let me throw this one to you.
No, not at all. Not
It
at all.
really doesn't look like we've
No,
gotten to a point
this
where
is
we
what
should
in
review.
my introduction I told you.
So why is not calling for a forum
No.
to identify defects, and if there are, all stakeholders come on board and see how that defect can be corrected?
No, you see, when President talks, he has a lot of information.
Okay.
He's well advised. And I want to believe he is talking about what is on the ground. And what is on the ground from labor perspective is also another imaginary problem, which, from where I sit, shouldn't even create any problem. It has to do with categories 2 and 3 allowances. Everywhere you go, including GBC, when I come here, when is our categories 2 and 3 allowances coming? Now we all know, we've told you that among other things that single spine was going to do was to standardize and harmonize these allowances. And mind you, job-related allowances have been consolidated. Have we made it well understood by the masses? That is another question. And from the way things are going, people don't get that. People still hold the belief that these allowances are still going to be operational. That is job-related allowances. People still think it is going to happen. It's not going to happen. What we are now left, we are left with two things. Allowances which are the exigency of the job you do, and welfare. I mean, welfare, we are talking about fuller benefit. I don't think any worker will want to die whilst working. I don't think so. So if we go and review fuller grant, what benefit does it serve the worker? I'm not underplaying that aspect. But is it what people want? Definitely not. People are thinking that job-related allowances, like clothing, like professional, like responsibility, like risk, all these things are feeding into people's minds that so far as we call category 2 and 3, these things are coming back. It's not coming back. It's not. What is going to happen? Let's say you are to do 8 hours, which is the mandatory hourly work you have to do. And by the nature of your work, you do 9 hours. Let's say that 1 hour must be paid. And this will move you into category 2 allowance. This is what we are talking about. Let's say you've traveled from Accra to Kumasi. In traveling, you went, you slept in a hotel, your inconvenience or night allowance will be paid to you. These are things people are talking about. That is what I say. It is the exigency of the job you do. Somebody will be here, by the nature of the person's work, he will never travel. And the person is calling for this allowance. As if when it comes, it's wholesale. It's not going to be like that. So my difficulty here, the challenge here, I think this is what the president is trying to portray. That look here, you people hold yourselves into meeting, discussion, come out with all these things, and let's do a step kind of education for people to understand that what they are calling for in their minds is not really what is going to happen. And then even the category 4, which has to do with pets, it is going for certain category of people, workers. That is managerial. All these things must be spelled out clearly. And again, these allowances are not also going to be blankets that we put and roll it over for everybody. It's not going to happen like that. It's work-based. And the exigency of your work will determine the allowance.
I really appreciate what we're doing because this is the only platform that we can use to educate public sector workers, for them to appreciate the nitty-gritties and for them to also understand why we have gotten this far with the implementation of the single spine pay policy. So it is good. This forum, I welcome it. It should roll out, and then all stakeholders identify for them to participate and for them to understand what exactly. So what we're going to do is that I would want to go remind our listeners
second spine pay policy. They want to go back on those days that groups, labor groups, agitated for special remunerations and the rest. In those days, you could have nurses, different group categories of nurses going on strike to champion their call for more salary. Pharmacists will go, doctors will go. I just need to say scavengers. By then we have a grade called scavengers. They also go on strike. And so there were a lot of strikes in relation to salaries. But with the civil supply pay policy as it is, we are supposed to operate it. And then make adjustments as we proceed along. But it appears the doctors, particularly, want to take their sensitive position to hold this country to a ransom. And this is what the members of organized labor must avoid. They must work in harmony to stop it, to block it. Because if we don't take care, the message that the meat has gotten to the bone will affect our single spine policy. If we don't take care, the salaries will be slashed. And organized labor will be worse off. So it is for organized labor to advise the doctors to desist from what they are doing. They should allow us to operate the single spine pay policy over a period of 16, 20 years. And let us make the right adjustment. And we will be in heaven.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, Waba, thank you so much. This is Single Spine the Issues on GTV and also live on all radio networks across the country. Watch on your screens. We will roll out the platform on which you can reach us via our social media platform. If you have text messages, you can send them to us. We will talk about them. My guest in the studio, Mr. Richard Ampabin, is the General Secretary, PSWU, and Dr. Boy Kikimoto is the Chairman Leader in charge, Salaries and Negotiations for the Ghana Veterinary Medical Association. He also speaks for the association. And they are my guests on the studio in the studio today. We are looking at their position, the perspective of organized labor as far as the single spine pay policy is concerned. I think we've gotten to a point where organized labor should be engaging in more stakeholder talks with Fairwages and Salaries Commission. Am I to understand that this has been going on vigorously? And if it's been going on, how far have you gotten to, Mr. Dr. Kikimoto?
Yes, thank you very much. Cecil, even yesterday we had a meeting when we were expecting the public services joint study negotiation team.
Yeah, hold on a moment. I've just been informed that we have a caller on the line. Let's go to hear our brother or our friend on the line. Hello? Yes. Speak up a bit so we can hear you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. I want to contribute to your program.
What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Yes, I'm Nuzin from Tamale.
Okay, our brother from Tamale. Let's hear you.
I heard one of your panels talking about category 2 allowance, saying that children and children allowance are not included. I want to know whether risk allowance is also amount in the category 2 allowance.
Which allowance?
Risk.
Category 2 allowance.
Yeah, you want to know which allowance is amount?
Risk
risk.
allowance. Yes, risk.
Well, if you have listened right from the beginning, I'm sure you know he mentioned it and touched it. Mr. Ampabin, it's an opportunity again for you to hammer on the point.
Risk allowance
Yes.
is not category 2. It's category 1.
Yes.
Job evaluation, when it was done, the nature of your job was taken into perspective.
Yeah.
And that risk was factored in people's jobs.
Yeah.
So risk
issues, you always misunderstand and misinform the public. I will tell you that we have been meeting every time. I remember in one of our meetings, we realized that the program was to spread for 5 years. Yeah. And we ourselves, as the Public Services Joint Committee members, said no, we want to finish this thing before a new government comes. Because we don't want to come out with something, and then that government comes and we throws it away. Do you know that system over there? Today I'm sitting here with you. Most of our members have not let Ghanaians know that. But we ourselves members, in our own quest to get things done faster, compress issues, and some of these things have come up. It's a bubble that has burst. But today I want everybody to know. People thought maybe if we should come to some agreement, a new government can throw it away. Because another government may not be like this NDC government that came and said, look, this thing was done in my absence. But I see it's a good thing. Let me continue and implement it. So that was our fear. But now we have been proved wrong. But the only thing I want to say is that we have category 1, category 2, category 3, and category 4. On the 12th of February, or 26th of February last year, we had a stakeholders meeting. And don't forget that we have 9 service classifications, from civil service to my friends from the health service of Ghana, not Ghana health service of Ghana. We have 9 classifications, and we all met in our various groups and try to harmonize and standardize these category 2 and 3 allowances. So now what is left now is that the 36 steps, we have now just done the implementation and the migration. Even the migration has problems, isn't it? So now we are not doing post-migratory problems. After we have done them, but I'm also happy to announce, to tell you that
How smooth has that been?
it has been fine in the sense that, you see, you evaluate you and put you on a certain level.
Okay, all right. Hold on. Let me go to the phone. We've just been signaled that Godwin is on the line from Kumasi. Godwin?
Yes, please.
Yes, let me hear you, Godwin.
May I the teachers the category 2 allowance? What is it that?
What do you mean?
I need the category 2
Yes.
allowance. The officer there made mention of traveling and maybe working towards this thing. I don't know whether those things, the category 2, the teachers will also be passed.
Okay, all right. Whether teachers will be part?
Everybody.
Everybody, yeah. It cuts across, so you have heard it.
If the CDC happens, why not?
And just to clear a point, you see, now what we are dealing with, my phone, mic is.
Yes, just go on, go on.
What we are dealing now is that
Yeah.
with the labor unions, we have all agreed that, you see, there are certain allowances that cut across board.
Yeah.
So that one, we are going to agree. But don't forget that the service classifications are 9, as I told you. Every service classification has also its own peculiarities.
Yes.
So when we
So the thing is that I get from all that you're saying,
Yeah.
I think when you identify the problems, you're able to solve the problems. And you're working hand in hand with commission. So how come this same group of members you have talked about serving with you on a standing committee will turn around again and then question the competence of Fairwages and Salaries Commission in dealing with the issues?
Yeah, so I will give you a typical example, not to annoy anybody. Our last, our second meeting of the year, I remember, I don't want to call the name of the union.
I asked this because I've had several interviews and someone last week. There was a lady on my show who questioned the competence of the managerial capacity of those even handling Fairwages and Salaries Commission. Yeah. And I didn't want to step in to say that, look, I know them so well because I've been doing this program, but I cannot speak for them. But because you've been dealing with them, you should be in a position to tell us that are they competent enough to hold those positions they're holding at Fairwages and Salaries Commission?
I will first start and my senior colleague will add.
Okay. I've just been told we are having some interruptions as far as our phone lines are concerned. Let me pick this call and then I'll come back to you. We have just about 6 minutes. We should be able to do that. Hello? I'm told on the line. Hello?
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, before calling from Serio.
Sefiroso. Let's hear you.
I want to find out the sector that within the essential, that is classified by the essential sector.
You want to find out?
The sector that within the essential sector.
I did not get that.
No, he's want to find out the sectors.
Oh, sectors that
That's
fall
all.
under the essential.
Service.
Okay, you've been dealing with them. So
Yeah. I think that we can just answer for him.
yeah,
We have the army,
yeah.
the police, the prisons, fire service, okay, security agencies,
Company,
Namo,
water,
water company, electricity company, the health sector,
yeah.
you know, health, the doctors, the health sector, they are part of it. So, yeah, all of that we have sector. But the right perspective of it is sectors whose services, if it is withdrawn,
Yeah.
can cause life of people.
Okay.
These are the essential
Essentials.
services.
Okay. So now that that has been answered, let's spend the rest of the time to analyze the competence.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to point to you was that one day we had a meeting,
Yeah.
and when we went there, because we wanted results fast, a leader of a union, which I don't want to mention, got up and said, look, what do we tell our members? We all agree that no media, no nothing.
Yeah.
But they say, okay, no problem. For us, when we do this, and I was surprised, the person was repeating what we discussed there. I said, that is not happening.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you misinform your leaders.
Yeah.
So what I think we should be doing is that all the leaders, when you go back, try and really inform your people what has happened at the meeting.
So this
This is what has been happening.
has not been the situation. Okay, Mr. Mr. I want to take attention to you. The most important thing for me is the competence as far as management of Fairwages and Salaries Commission is concerned, and people are asking for heads to roll and all that. I don't work with them, and so you should be in the position to tell them whether indeed.
Yeah, if we talk about competence,
Yeah.
you see, this policy is a very huge policy. And this is the first time in the annals of this country that we managed to implement such a policy incident-free, I would say. Because if even taking the industrial action as it is happening now, even as a result of single span, we have 102 salary structures that we can press to one. And if you get three standing up in percentage terms, what is it?
Yeah.
If I were marking and 102 minus 3,
So we'll give them A plus.
that's a point now. That's a point.
Okay. Time will not permit us to move on with this unfortunate tradition demands that we hand over for radio to pick the news at 6. I must appreciate your concern, but you're going to get back on this platform again because I think we will have to sustain the awareness and let people know what work is being done at Fairwages and Salaries Commission and the role of organized labor. So let me thank you once again, Mr. Ampabin, General Secretary, PSWU, and Dr. Boy Kikimoto of Ghana Veterinary Medical Association. He is the chair and leader, salary and negotiations for the Ghana Veterinary Medical Association. It's been good having you on this platform. And to you, our viewers and listeners, make a deal with us again. Same time next Saturday, we will be here. I say a big thanks to the crew. I say a big thanks to production. I say a big thanks to all of us here. Next week, Saturday, we will be right here again. Stay blessed.